MLXG use a teleport with 957, they will pull the trigger on that.
You can see WE actually focusing on Mata a whole lot early on as Alistair and Thresh both banned away. Siva and Vladimir taken away on the side of RNG, and it does mean that we are probably going to see one of those coveted picks available for WE to lock in, as LeBlanc is going to be taken away from Xiaohu. There's the Hecarim ban, so Malzahar has fallen through. Ryze is there as well. Is WE thinking about which purple champion to take, but this one would make a lot of sense.
Malzahar currently has a 100% win rate for the day.
Oh, yeah.
Big high priority pick and ban globally as well as in the LPL, mostly on the ban spectrum. I do want to point out that Sivir was banned.
Yes, it was.
Big speech.
Yeah,
I got to take him where I get him.
Well, MLXG is actually hovering the Rex. I would have thought he probably should have gone for something like the Gragas if he had been listening to Froskarin.
I just think that Gragas is so
Well, we
key.
saw him be so important for OMG in the last series as well.
And this is the big thing, too. That means that Condi now has the option to look towards the Gragas. He's a phenomenal Gragas player. Again, more of a playmaking-oriented jungler like MLXG than more of like kind of a reactionary control jungler. We saw the combo of Gragas with Malzahar. You pretty much bop him with the cask, and if you're within 700 cast range, Malzahar's just going to grab him right where they fall.
Yep, and that is a big old circle around that purple Aladdin-looking guy. So we'll see whether it is going to come out, as Condi, a pretty fantastic Gragas player, currently looking at Graves. Falling out of favor just a little bit, but still has some time to make up his mind. That Braum makes a lot of sense, however. We'll see whether that is going to be the option Zero is going to take, as there aren't a whole lot of support picks available.
Fun fact for Zero and his Braum, in 2014 when he went to the World Finals on Starhorn Royal Club, Zero was actually undefeated on that champion until the world stage against Samsung White.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so he is, I mean, Braum's in flavor, and naturally every support player can play Braum, but Zero is a phenomenal Braum player.
And a legacy Braum player at that. You can see Condi at the last second is actually going to switch back to the Graves. So WE understanding the fact that they need follow-up damage to a Malzahar Nethergrasp, and Graves will do it. I think he'll do it.
Yeah, I actually really like the pick. We've made a lot of comparisons to Malzahar to kind of like pseudo-Lissandra or the better Lissandra right now, and something that Lissandra really thrives with is having a kill-oriented or high-damage jungler in tandem with her. Simply because during the duration of her hard CC, someone like Graves or Kha'Zix does have enough burst damage to just 100 to 0 someone. Although I think with Malzahar, his damage is a little bit overtuned, that you could do the same thing with the likes of Gragas or Elise, but you know, we'll go with it.
We'll have to. Xiaohu thinking about picking up the Rise here, of course, was left unattended, but we saw that throughout the whole last series. Wasn't picked up, and I was wondering when Xerath came back, whether or not Xiao would go back to it, but he's breaking my heart. He's not going towards it. Of course, he was the Emperor of Shurima for a reason. It was because he only played Azir and Xerath. But it's not going to be this time. It's going to be the Victor and the Bard.
You just lit up right there. You were
sorry,
so
I'm
excited
the biggest
for the
Xiaohu
Xerath
fan in the world.
But I definitely think that Icon showed last series that Victor is a serviceable answer to Malzahar's wave clear. Of course, most of that coming online once you're level 7. You have the upgraded Hex Core, and so you're able to wave clear pretty freely and safely, although Malzahar is still going to have a very strong siege potential when he approaches that tower and threatens with his ultimate.
Well, this could be dangerous, as the Maokai is going to be locked in from WE. 957, of course, known for playing those big tanks. They've got an AD-based jungler there as well, so Condi is going to be able to augment the damage. However, Trundle's still available. Looper, phenomenal player just in general. That applies to Trundle as well, and it is available for them to pick up.
It's either going to be Trundle or Gnar, I think.
Yeah, we could go to Aurelia or something like that as well. I mean, there are a lot of different options here for Looper.
But so far, Team WE, true to their style, they have a scaling composition, you know, waiting online for Mystic to show up with those 2 items. Malzahar will also have a good mid-game power spike that can scale into late game with all of the utility and fun toys he brings on his kit. But it's a 5v5 composition at heart. It's actually going to be a Shen. Yeah,
so it's going to be the Shen locked away here. Of course, they do have the Bard. So Tempered Fate in the hands of Mata against the Nethergrasp of a Malzahar. It's going to mean that GA needs to have his passive whenever he uses his ultimate. Otherwise, if Mata's anywhere near him, he'll be able to just cancel that one out and try and save whoever he's targeting. Or if he does have that passive, he just ults onto his teammate and keeps him alive. So we'll see how pivotal Mata is going to be in this RNG composition, but at the moment they've got so much global presence.
Yeah, that's the big thing. And we've seen this kind of become the trend globally, but also certainly in the LPL.
I saw what you did there, and I liked it.
Teams using the lower cooldowns on their global or semi-global ultimates to compensate for trying not to make plays simply around the teleport cooldown. So obviously a lot easier to use these rather than waiting every 5 minutes for that TP to come back up. And things start to happen very quickly around the map.
Well, coaches are going to shake hands. Let's get into game number 1 and see if WE can do it against RNG. Thank you very much, 957. And here we are onto the rift for game number 1 between WE and RNG. First versus third. Right now, of course, was previously equal second in this group. And WE actually looking to be the stronger team moving in, especially when it comes to group play, given their Group B performance earlier on in the split.
And reminder, the last time that these two teams faced, WE did manage to take a map off of RNG. Ultimately, the series was 2-1 in RNG's favor. So we'll see if Team WE can mix it up this time around.
And see whether they can actually bring it back after what was a relatively disappointing cross-group experience for this team. They were in the more powerful group, but unfortunately not one of the teams that was able to pick up the majority of the wins at that stage.
And I want to quickly touch on the priority mid-pick of Malzahar. More importantly for a player like Xie, especially since he's looking across from Xiaohu. So Kelsey Moser just let out an article. I recommend everyone read it. It's this great story about these two mid laners that are pretty much destined to be the next big kind of Chinese royalty mid laners in the LPL. And it's the likes of Xiaohu and Xie. Both of them dominated the solo queue throughout LPL. They kind of came into their own, you know, each making their highs. Team WE, when they took down the GE Tigers at IEM, RNG and Xiaohu going to MSI and, you know, moving up from Little Tiger to Big Tiger.
Going 8-2 in groups.
Exactly, making his statement on an international stage. So seeing these two Titans clash and develop, especially as kind of the rest of the talent pool from mid lane has really fallen away. Rookie kind of being that last standing member as Pawns taken the bench.
Yeah, last bastion of hope.
And Wayless has fallen away.
Yeah, unfortunately. He was always a big favorite of mine too. Xiaohu as well was recently ranked 1 on the Korean server at the same time. Doesn't matter which solo queue, he's always going to be doing well as RNG. Putting some pressure on here towards the top side of the map as we do have a lane swap, but answered immediately. Nice combo there from Mata. Makes sure Mystic is low on his health bar.
Yep, the Australian standard lanes commencing.
A little bit down under.
But so far, there's not a ton of kill pressure on the map until level 6. This is probably the only lane where there is some, although as I say that, Condi's actually setting up for a gank, so looking for the twisted advance into end of the line.
Yeah, it was actually wanting to, but Lupa just taking so much control of this lane on the Shen. 957 doesn't exactly have a massive health bar here as he's chugging both of his potions. And in goes Condi. Lupa will have possibly the Shadow Dash. We'll see. Yes, he does. Did skill that one up second, so is going to survive. And that was more of a safety gank rather than I want to kill you gank.
And again, just the power of Looper shining through is such an asset to this team. Able to not even expend any summoner spells and open up enough space that MLXG is able to sneak in here and take the blue buff.
Yeah, understanding that Lupa then, of course, playing super far back in his lane because he knows that the rest of his team can capitalize from what just happened as Mystic takes a bunch of damage. You can see it's even the top side of the map here for RNG, putting the pressure on knowing that the jungle is bottom.
We'll see if Condi's able to suss out MLXG. They are going to meet on Wolf Camp.
Well, Condi doesn't quite find too much there as the wolf does fall down.
But what's important here is that Condi is now going to discover that his blue buff has been taken, and unfortunately he's across map. There is an opportunity here where MLXG could 3-buff Condi.
He already has.
Well, he hasn't taken his
hasn't
blue
taken
buff
his
yet.
own blue buff yet. Actually wants to steal away his Gromp, though. Does have the smite there as end of the line comes in. MLXG taking a fair bit of damage. Remember, he's not tanky yet. Of course, can ignore him theoretically as we move into the end of the game, but not now.
And right now, all he's doing is he's abusing the fact that Uzi and Mata have control over the creep wave here, having the superior push against Ezreal and Braum with that volley, with the range advantage on Bard.
And you have always been a massive advocate of the Ashe.
Yep.
Ashe Braum. Ashe and
Bard
Bard seems to be a pretty ridiculous lane in the laning phase.
Your lane control is absurd, your kill pressure, which is why I said it. Really the only lanes that are in threat of dying either way, because there is outplay potential for 0 on this Braum if Mata and Uzi aren't respectful to where they're standing in relation to the creeps, you know, giving a free stand behind me and an instant auto attack to look for that concussive blows.
Yeah.
But yeah, these 2v2s, this is where the kill pressure is. It's very hard to take down the Maokai or the Shen unless you get that early gank, which is why we saw Condi looking for it at level 2. Unfortunately, wasn't able to connect. But otherwise, until Malzahar is level 6, the rest of this map should be fairly quiet. And it should be a very farm-heavy time for the junglers, or in MLXG's case, contesting Condi's camps, as he will now officially 3-buff him.
Yeah, and actually going to give this blue buff over to Xiaohu as well, just taking his time with it. Waiting, making sure that Xiaohu now has as much wave clear available to him as possible. Already has the first upgrade of that Hex Core as well here at level 5. Farming out very nicely. Will help him as far as clearing out the waves against what will be some pretty repugnant wave clear from Xie.
And again, Xiaohu just needs to hang on until he is that level 7, until he has that upgraded Hex Core. Then it starts alleviating a lot of his pressure. He's still not going to be necessarily super strong against the Malzahar, does need to respect the reach of that ultimate, but he shouldn't just be continuously taking damage underneath the tower where Malzahar is able to abuse a lot of these 1v1 mid lane matchups.
Yeah, precisely. We'll see whether he can. As you can see, back actually coming in from the bottom lane here of WE. Chucking over some wards. Will then exit the area. We'll see whether they opt to go into some sort of lane swap. Is Mystic actually going to wait around? You can see 39 to 50 is the CS, but that is a creep wave now moving towards WE. Mystic will be able to even this one out relatively well, but not quite enough. As Uzi continues to put pressure on.
This is such a classic Uzi thing, though. So, yes, he's continuing to put pressure, but reminder that he was just about to back because he assumed that Mystic and Zero had backed. As soon as he sees that Mystic has hung around to pick up these free CS underneath tower, Uzi's like, I can't let him do this. I'm only backing when he does. If he's here, I'm punching him in the face.
Of course, Uzi known as a man that contests almost every single CS. He can't do that from the fountain. Therefore has to hang around. I understand it. I understand it.
I just love it when players kind of showcase their personalities and their attributes that have made them so recognizable throughout the LPL, and that is definitely one of Uzi's.
Oh, yeah.
If Mystic is in this lane, I am in this lane.
And there is a lot that has changed for Uzi as well. A much more humble player now, as MLXG knows that he's been discovered. Cute little ward over the side there for WE.
They're also pulling Xiaohu, though.
Yeah, walked onto that ward as well, as the Rift Scuttler is going to give him a bit of movement speed. Of course, he had cleared out the wave.
And again, if that's classic Uzi, this is classic Team WE. Instead of pulling Condi and Xie topside to make this a 4v4, they just minimize the losses. Everyone backs up, although we talked about respecting creep space.
Yeah.
Zero punishing.
Concussive blown. There's Zero and Mystic. Back away, copper volley. A good trade from this squad.
And that's really the only windows and opportunities that Braum has to kind of outplay this lane. Otherwise, he really is at the mercy of this Ashe Bard lane. The initial back, this is actually better that the lane phase is being elongated. Most people would say, you know, Ezreal, he needs to make his back before 6 minutes so he can get that tier stacked up by the 25-minute mark. But if you're able to delay that back, yes, you delay the tier power spike, but you don't lose a lot of your individual 1v1 power because you can back pick up a tier and hopefully also get a Sheen to assist you with these trades.
And if you wait even long enough, we've seen Uzi do it before as well, you can potentially just go back, pick up a Manamune and skip it entirely.
Exactly. So this isn't the worst case scenario for Mystic. He's actually in a fairly good spot, and he's very used to this. Again, Team WE are very good at elongating waves, allocating resources correctly, and drawing out the game.
They're just a damage control team, right?
Yes.
It's just like, let's stop all the bad from happening. It's not like, let's make good happen. It's like, let's make sure we stop the bad. Pretend it just doesn't happen.
There was a contested blue right there. It did end up going over to Condi, so Xie was denied the blue buff. Condi having to take that one away.
Yeah, definitely a good news story for RNG, but not the end of the world. Malzahar already with part of his Mineralonomicon, going to give him a bunch of his mana back every time he levels up. He's going to be happy. 1,300 gold actually sitting on here as Xiaohu has about 1,500 himself, so the next tech score upgrade is there if he needs it.
I do want to quickly touch on the defensive ward line, because I think that this also illustrates very clearly Team WE. They're like a bunker team. They set up their defense, they huddle back into their little turtle shell, and they have such deep defensive wards. You know, knowing that they were 3 buff last time, get a pink ward on the blue buff this time around, to make sure that they can see incoming threats, that they're able to secure that one. They've also got pink wards in their try, as well as leading into their red ramp. So they're sitting back in their bunker, they're nice and cozy on their couch, and they're just going to weather the storm.
Well, the question is the storm going to be brutal enough out of RNG, as they have a lot of options to make things happen, especially now that Lupa is above level 6. Currently level 8, Stand United there. We'll see where the pressure does come down.
Yep, and you're absolutely right. That was the go button, which is why we're now automatically seeing the lane swap go back and moving the duo lane back towards the bottom side of the map to apply pressure towards the dragon area, is that the ultimates are all available across the board. And so now it's a question of where will they be used?
Wow. Probably not on Jie, who's very far back in his lane, does of course have his passive available. No long-range arrows going to be affecting the Malzahar.
Although I actually think that Xie might be the best case scenario if they can unlock Mata and look for a Tempered Fate through Fog of War, simply because he is the most immobile of all of them, as long as they can play around his passive.
At the moment, it looks like RNG just trying to stick into a laning phase. They have been sort of organically coming out ahead. You can see it's almost 1,000 gold lead just from laning in general. As now MLXG has his Tiamat. This guy's looking very strong on the Rek'Sai. SOFM build equipped as Mata, tanking up the turret, gets himself the Meep slap. Just continuing to put on the pressure. Of course, Mata hasn't necessarily been roaming around as much as we'd otherwise expect early on in this game. Xie finds himself a pink ward.
Xie might be caught out here.
Oh, kills the pink.
There it is.
Yeah, Tempered Fate comes down. MLXG gets the flash, and you can see in goes the Stand United immediately. Condi, they just transition their focus. Zero waiting off to the side. There is a ward there, though, as Lupa has found Xie, and Zero has to flash over the wall. Xiaohu flashes in as well. Death Ray not going to quite pick it up. As you can see, Zero gets the concussive blows, dodges out of the way. And there's the ultimate from Zero to try and keep his mid laner alive. Mata down here as well. He's taking a lot of damage. There's the stun. As Xie's able to get work done. Mystic picks up the kill. Lupa is able to take him down. But RNG, they couldn't get the Mals.
We talked about how this is a clash of mid laners. Both Xiaohu and Xie going toe-to-toe. Xiaohu flashing over the wall, trying to make sure that he executes him. But blue suede shoes from Xie dodges not one, but 2 skill shots. The Praise Seeker as well, to kind of turn that and trade 1-for-1 in the end. So beautifully played from this Malzahar.
And was still able to get damage down as well with his Voidlings and his Malefic Visions while he was there.
But there are the windows of opportunity to act on that Malzahar. We said as soon as he was caught out, RNG, they still retain their identity as a battle ward team. As soon as Malzahar was caught out on a pink ward, they waited out the passive and then immediately threw the Tempered Fate. And again, they should probably look to repeat this, because Malzahar is still the easiest target to lock down in terms of on that map for kill potential.
Well, of course, now just shoving that minion wave through, moving down towards the bottom side. You can see Mata has been removed from this bottom lane. See what plays he's actually able to make here as well.
I love the 6.13 patch. Again, that's the one that we're on for Mata. It's the big support mobility patch.
Oh,
Mata was, of course, the support that pioneered the Mobi boots, and Zero is actually one of the few supports that took after him. So this should be a very quick, very mobile game.
Well, Zero has always liked being able to run around the map as much as possible. Both of these players playing for a very long time as Condi takes down his red buff, now moving towards the bottom side of the map. Probably just going to take his Krug camp. We'll see whether he tries to go for any sort of gank, as Mata just skipping around Mystic and Zero.
Big thing is the fact that the Tempered Fate is now back up and online, as well as the arrow. So the 2 big key ultimates, RNG could look to make a play. Although, as you said, the blue buff is actually coming back up, and they're paying attention towards the top side of the map.
Yeah, you can see MLXG going to spot out this pink ward potentially, as he puts a ward down for himself. Whoop. Just ignored it. Flat out doesn't care about that pink.
Well, he knows that there's people incoming, so he doesn't necessarily have the safety or the time to really invest on that one.
Mystic avoids the stun here as they're battling towards the bottom side of the map. Zero cops the arrow to the face as the Unbreakable is just a little bit late.
And the reason why this instantly happens is because RNG have info. Oh, hold on.
Yeah, there's the Glacial Fissure. Uzi gets knocked up. Concussive Blows is avoided as there's the Tempered Fate as Mystic misses the ult. Really nice Cosmic Binding as the volley's there as well. Marta's tanking as best he can. And Uzi and Marta pick up the kill.
But the
In
collapse.
comes RNG as 0. I'm sorry, buddy. You ain't going to be leaving with your life as Yahoo picks it up with a Q.
But the reason why all of this happened is because RNG's bot lane saw that everyone was on the blue buff. So the fact that RNG have continuously had the perfect timer on this blue buff and are continuously trying to take it away or challenge WE opens up the ability for Bard and Ashe to play aggressive like that, knowing where the enemy jungler is going to be on the map.
Yeah, and just once again, slow movements around the map. And RNG close to a 4,000 gold lead at 14:45 in this game. That is much larger than it could be with a scoreline of 1-4.
And they've done it through organic CS leads, just by naturally winning their lanes being stronger in the case of the bottom 2v2, as well as great macro movements about using their vision and the information and punishing Team WE with that information, like the blue play on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, looking very, very strong. Of course, top team here in Group B, falling only to EDG in the cross-conference. What was a 2-1, but pretty impressive on the EDG side of things. Xie has his back stopped and his passive broken by Mata, who just skips in there with his Moby boots. Now Mata wandering over some pink wards. WE's pink wards actually living for quite a long time this game. RNG haven't been quite checking them out as much as they'd otherwise like.
And it's such a buff to RNG, the fact that the initial dragon is a Cloud Drake, because it means that they don't need to be chained down towards that bottom side of the map. They're free to pick up Mata, start moving him earlier, can afford to put their duo topside, knowing that there's no objective, that they're really trading.
Yeah. Well, now 957 trying to answer what is going on towards the top side of the map. Xiao, who wanders around, though, you can see RNG getting all of the vision that they'd want towards this top side outer turret.
This is still going to be a numbers advantage if RNG choose to pull the trigger on this play, however, simply because it is a teleport Shen versus an Ezreal on the bottom side of the map. So the only thing Mystic can contribute here is a cross-map. Wow, cross-map ulti. I wish I could speak.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess Looper and Mystic both with global ultimates. Thankfully, Looper's is actually able to get him into the battle.
In the end, though, RNG decide against diving the Maokai. Obviously, the play was also fairly telegraphed for a very long time, so they would have to expect that it would be a 4v5, and instead turn their sights on this mid lane, trying to pop this BV.
Yeah, they really need to get rid of this passive. As you can see, RNG actually a lot of damage onto this one. True Shot Barrage has to be used. And WE hold on to it, but that's a lot of damage.
That Prey Seeker not connecting pretty much saved Xie's life, so he has to be so on the ball here.
Very careful. But now Mystic has shored up that CS gap. Manamune completed, as well as 20% CDR in the Sheen and the Lucidity boots.
And that's what RNG have traded over the course of kind of the last 3 minutes, trying to set up this play top lane, having it diffuse, then looking towards the mid lane. All of that time has bought Mystic his foot back into this game.
Of course, only has a little bit left to go before that Iceborne Gauntlet's completed, and he's pretty happy in that 2-item spike. All of his kite potential, but second outer turret is going to fall as RNG uncontested towards the top side. Of course, this is something that WE love to do, and it is trade objectives.
Unfortunately, they don't necessarily like always trading for the dragon, which is why Team WE typically leave up a tower in a lane swap scenario so they can trade for a monetary value. Had a good conversation with Rusty about that. Is now Mystic, possibly caught.
Yeah, Looper throws down the Shadow Dash. Condi takes away the dragon. Looper actually trading quite nicely. Understands that he can't kill the Ezreal, though, because, of course, he has an E.
I feel like in the long run, though, them taking the Cloud Dragon simply did a favor for RNG, because now they know it's an Infernal next. They already have the initial gold lead, as well as the tempo pace on the map. I feel like Team WE, the next 6 minutes, they're dreading.
Yeah. As well as the fact that RNG want to set up for these sort of team fights. Mata able to have so much power in that area. Looper as well can get a split push on and still be as effective as he heads in with that big shield. And Uzi, with the arrow, with the fact that this is a champion at the moment that he's so incredibly comfortable on. Feels good to be an RNG fan, but WE have been able to fight the later it goes into the game. It's just going to be hard.
All eyes are actually on the mid lane right now as our spectator takes a look at Uzi, simply because RNG, they know that that's the next objective that they want, that they have to break that, and they have the tools. The Tempered Fate, the arrow, fight here will immediately translate towards mid lane.
Well, 957 was actually looking for it as Tempered Fate lands. Xie's shield gets popped as 0. Not going to get knocked up, but there's the arrow connecting onto the support. Throws down the Glacial Fissure, survives for a moment as it is going to be MLXG falling down. Loop is dead as well as both of the tanks now lie in rubble. And WE find the fight in response to RNG's aggressive engage.
And we talk about how Team WE really thrive in these 5v5 scenarios, especially when you make it in a choke point like that where they get to really utilize their AoE spread of damage as well as protection with Maokai. So RNG kind of fumbling their execution, thinking that they'd be able to chain their CC with their long-range ultimates and having that burn them.
Yeah, and this outer turret now is going to fall in the mid lane as well, so WE following up with an objective. Closing out that gold gap, only about 3,000, but of course remember, back at about 15 minutes into, sorry, about 12 minutes into the game, it was a 4,000 gold lead, which is huge. And now 3,000 further on to the game, 20 minutes means basically nothing, or not too much anyway, especially given the turret lead RNG have on the outer side. And goes the Chaos Stormers, there's the Gravity Field as well. Death Ray comes in, and my god, Xie just explodes. Xiaohu picking up the solo kill with his Victor. A little bit of disrespect out of Xie.
Crown the new royalty. Xiaohu just went 1v1 against Xie and dominated him on the Victor pickup. So again, seeing how this Victor is utilized against Malzahar, coming out with a very early Q to try to break the shield and then layering your CC following that. So beautifully executed by Xiaohu.
Yeah, and he's always been a Victor player as well, but I have a feeling that was a lot to do with the fact that Xie was standing there in the first place. Didn't have any of his summoner spells available. Of course, still a very stationary champion in Malzahar.
Thankfully for Team WE, not all of their wave clear is dependent on Malzahar. They do have a Graves jungle, so with their wave clears combined between Ezreal and Graves, they can secure and protect a tower, and they manage to stave off RNG and buy enough time for 957 to get a lot of chip damage down here on the bottom side.
Yeah, Xiaohu actually called down in order to try and stop that one. You can see now 957 is going to be heading back to that minion wave, continue shoving that one through. The Maokai, ahead in farm at the moment, just farming himself up, trying to get to that big beefy tank stage that he wants to be. Spirit Visage there as well as the Merc Treads, so probably pretty happy against the Victor at the moment, given the matchup. Now Mata, as he likes to do, patrolling the enemy jungle.
Picking up his vision and moving it around the map. Again, Mata wanted to prove that Samsung White's success was a lot to do with him. Very similar style and how they move their vision and how they play around it. Now RNG just need to clean it up to that same 2014 World Champion success if they want to find similar results.
It's going to be hard. But of course, if MSI taught us anything, if a lot of these RNG games taught us anything, it's most certainly possible, is Voidling going to fall down.
Well, they definitely have China's magical formula with having Uzi on a team. Seems to be the shortcut to Worlds.
This Magical Journey comes in from Mata just to make sure that they have an escape route. And it is going to work out. Even dodges the Mystic Shot by heading through there. WE once again falling further behind. It just seems like whenever there's a lull in the game, it's RNG that's able to get more out of it.
Well, Team WE are doing a good job kind of forcing RNG out of their own jungle. You saw aggressively Mata trying to step forward with MLXG and place down Vision. He did manage to get pockets of it on the bottom side of the map, but for another minute, there's no objective to play across there, so that Vision is fairly worthless so far. That's why they want to get into this top side, because again, they want this mid lane tower, they want to use the Ash Arrow and the Tempered Fate.
Well, now RNG with some spare time here in the mid lane, and this tower is going to fall.
So unfortunate staggered backs, or not staggered backs from Team WE does mean that they lose their tower eventually. And now we're going to start shifting our focus back towards the bottom side of the map around this dragon. Again, it's the Infernal Drake. This was the 6-minute window that Team WE should be dreading because they gave away a free gold advantage in the early game. No one's surprised. It's Team WE.
But still does bode okay for the team. Moving into this as we move back to a 4,000 gold lead for RNG.
Also, it's a pretty decent power spike for Team WE's composition, or at least part of it. So the cool thing about Malzahar and Ezreal is they're both 2-item power spike champions. So you got the Morellos as well as the Rylai's. Malzahar can use Rylai's on pretty much every single ability in his kit, as well as his Voidlings. They apply a 20% slow for 1 second, so he just gets so much utility out of that item, as well as Ezreal having that Iceborne Gauntlet online. Uzi a little bit late here.
Yeah, exactly right. 957 actually understands this as well. Looking to start this one up. Not enough vision here for WE. They don't know exactly where Uzi is, as they're still not starting the dragon. And see now Uzi's actually going to pick up this minion wave, and we'll see whether WE pull any triggers. Condi down to about half health. So now WE move over towards the Ashe.
Something that Team WE's composition really does lack is kind of front engage. They have a great flanking engage with Maokai, but if Uzi is just standing out in the open like that, they don't have the Sivir or the long-range engage that RNG's comp does to run him down.
Yeah, they don't have that surprise factor. As the dragon has been started, Xiaohu is able to lock down the Rift Scuttler. But now 957 does have an opportunity to get towards one of these RNG members. Nice positioning from Uzi and Xiaohu to get themselves out of the front line. But now WE with position on the dragon. As Lupa right in amongst it. 957 throws down the ultimate as Uzi off to the side, tries to get the work done. Tempered Fate onto only Mystic as Jie has the passive pop. They use it onto Lupa with the ultimate there as 957 picks up the kill, but WE are falling down so low. It is going to be Xiaohu falling, but Uzi at full health, but just can't get in there. It is going to be the dragon taken down by Condi as they lose no one and get 2 picks.
And the 5v5 ability of Team WE comes out trumps over RNG. Should be noted that Condi was actually split off for the majority of that setup doing the dragon. So initially that was fought on a 4v5 front, allowing Condi to pick up the dragon on the back half. Like, check this out. Condi's in the pit. He's fighting the dragon. The only people who are fighting right now are 4 members of Team WE. Mystic is locked out, but it doesn't matter because a great zone is already created by 957, and then Malzahar is doing so much damage and is so superficially tanky with his passive.
Not to mention the Rylai's Crystal Scepter as well. He just looked like a tank in the middle of that team fight. And the fact that they locked down Lupa, understood that that was the best decision, and meant that RNG couldn't re-engage on anything.
And the fact that Malzahar has kill pressure on tanks with his ability to shred them is pretty obscene.
Oh, yeah. We'll have Leandri's Torment built up possibly later into this game as well, so it doesn't matter how much Lupa gets bigger. It'll still be a problem. As you can see, there's the hook shot. The arrow flew through as well, as now Xiaohu and Mata looking to try and cut off the WE bottom lane. Uzi turns up as Zero is going to be fighting him. Mystic falls down for free as 5 members of RNG take down WE's bottom lane.
We can't take 4 of them on, but we certainly can take on 2 of them.
Oh, yeah.
RNG just kind of bullying Team WE on the map and then looking for a very aggressive Baron play.
That is extraordinarily aggressive, as it is going to be a 3 versus 5. Condi, of course, the son of Baron. We'll see whether he can actually get it done, though, because he's pretty squishy. And Xie has that passive running. Nice silence comes down, but the Baron is the focus as there's Magical Journey taken. Condi caught out of position as the exhaust goes down onto him, but Xie relatively ignored at this stage. There's going to be MLXG falling down, but can RNG actually get anything? Lupa falls as well, and it's the same story as last time around. Cosmic Binding gets no stun, and Malefic Visions is now ticking down, and RNG taking fights they can't win.
And they're also going to lose position on their mid-tier tower. Condi played that out beautifully right now, and it's going to mean a free objective for Team WE. RNG are just so aggressively running into Team WE's hands.
Yeah. It's now the lowest. Oh my goodness. Condi going to get volleyed and auto-attacked, and Uzi picks up the kill. So that is definitely good. Oh yeah. Uzi still playing well.
Such an aggressive play. RNG have this obsession with Baron. I thought that they had gotten over it a little bit when they went to MSI, but it seems to be back in full force over the last kind of 3 of their series. Just all or nothing in on this objective. And it's a high-risk, high-reward play, which is pretty much
they're straight back there.
The definitive essence of RNG, but this could cost them huge.
Well, they're straight back on the Baron one more time, as Condi is, of course, still dead. RNG, it is a 5 versus 4. But I don't even know whether that's a good idea as the Glacial Fissure fires in. Of course, Baron being another team member here for WE. Xiaohu off to the side. Vengeful Maelstrom right in the pit now as Uzi flashes over the wall. True Shot Barrage nails Mata as Xiaohu gets exhausted. Still has a lot of burst damage, but he's going to die. Mystic grabs it. MLXG still in this pit. Can they actually take away the Baron? They do, as MLXG will eventually fall. Lupa now right in there, but will this be the quadra kill for Mystic? as he locks it down. Quadra for the Ezreal. That is going to mean only Uzi has Baron.
Exactly. RNG pick up the Baron, but at what cost? Mystic is now massive. Any advantage that Uzi had gotten in the early game has now quickly been dispelled. These two item Power Spike champions, Malzahar and Ezreal, are so far online, and Shie doesn't even play this fight well. That's what kills me. He actually walks so far into the Baron pit, and you see that. Immediately forced to flash because the CC turns on him. This has nothing to do with the big AoE damage of Malzahar, and everything to do with Mystic just being a boss.
Yeah, damn right. And now the inhibitor is actually getting taken here for WE. They're able to grab that off the back of only Uzi being alive towards the end of that, so Baron or no Baron is still able to break open the base, and RNG looking in shambles. And this is exactly what happened last time these two teams faced. WE took game number 1, then RNG said, oh, God. Well, we probably should play with a little bit more respect, and then were able to win the next 2 games. But I don't think rushing back-to-back into Baron versus a team that wants to teamfight you is a good idea.
At the same time, though, I can kind of see the logic in the fact that it is a 3-game series, and you're in game 1. So if you're ever going to make such a high-risk, ballsy plays, you at least have the space to do it in game 1 because you have 2 chances. But never a situation that you want to be in.
Well, if WE are able to take this game and then take the next one, then theoretically they've got the head-to-head, which could be important moving into the rest of the split. Because, of course, will mean that RNG and WE only have 2 games separating them.
Nice to see WE come back into Group B looking so strong again. They came out swinging initially in the group phase, ended up 4-1, only dropping to RNG within their own group, went into cross-conference, ended up, I think, 2-3, so certainly falling down quite a bit in the standings, but coming back in with their initial game and looking quite strong against RNG. This is the Team WE that we expected.
Well, and you can see now item spikes across the board as well. As you can see, Bloodthirster done for Condi as well as that Ghost Blade. This guy is mammoth on the Graves. And that's Leandri's Torment completed, as well as Last Whisper and Blade of the Ruined King. Mystic is so big. Went back and completed a full Last Whisper and finished off his Blade after that Quadra.
So at this point in the itemization, because Condi is now a very valid carry threat, Shie's job changes in his team. He's now just about area control, so he's filling a very similar role as someone like Ziggs or Azir would do.
Yep.
And using his W, using his silence, using his ultimate just to create space for pretty much these 2 hyper AD carries and Graves and Ezreal to do work for him in the 5v5s.
You can see Cloud Drake now going to fall. It'll be the 3rd dragon here for WE. Double Cloud and then Infernal Drake that they were able to pick up before. Of course, further augmenting their power as we move closer and closer to the time of WE. 3 minutes to go until that Elder Drake mark, of course, will be up in 6 minutes.
It is never a good scenario for you, though, when Team WE are online before that 35-minute mark. The next easiest objective for Team WE, as you see Shie actually chasing down Looper with this Rylai's, is that outer top tower, which is why, Looper, you are so far out of position.
Yeah, Shadow Dash is going to come back up. As Shie looking to close distance, but not going to find his way in. There's the flash.
Good
eventually
flash.
Use collateral damage. A little bit optimistic there from Condi. But Shie is able to get that summoner spell, which is important.
Should be noted, though, that Looper will be able to teleport back into this if RNG look for the collapse. Xiaohu is coming up the river now. So they're looking for the big 5v5. They're not going to back away from this.
Yeah, well, MLXG is going to get ulted up here as well as the Stand United does come in. So 957, you get caught by the gravity field, but RNG, they start the engage and then say, oh, don't know about that.
I was just going to say, they're not going to back away from them. They got in, they're like, maybe not.
Yeah.
Trying to get some chip damage down, poke.
Yep, volleys flying through left, right, and center.
They have a very limited window to act on this because super creeps will be coming down the mid lane. RNG, it's kind of now or never.
Well, there's the Chaos Storm flying in as well as Zero taking a lot of tick damage from it. And now Uzi actually getting chunked up. Nice use of the Locket of the Iron Solari to give them a shield and a buffer, but WE getting corralled. There's the arrow onto 957. Shadow Dash is going to lock him up as Zero taking a whole lot of it. Nullifying the auto attacks there is Looper, as now he's looking for Condi, but Mystic takes down Marta in the backside. Uzi extraordinarily low as he gets sniped by the Mystic shot. It's another bevy of kills for the Ezreal as WE are continuing to chase this one down. Our Observer seems baffled as the same way we are, as WE are taking control of this game.
But they just did that without the Maokai ultimate. So the reason why RNG pressed go then is because the Maokai ultimate timed out, and they knew that there was a small window where they could act where 957 wouldn't be able to mitigate any of their damage. But even without it, Team WE just smashed RNG.
Yeah.
Like,
Inner turret's going to fall down as well.
Beautifully executed. Their team fighting,
stunning. 14 to 10 now in the kills as well, and you've got a Maokai towards the top side of the map sitting on 1-0-11. This isn't the day of the 957. I don't know which is, because this guy is a massive force for this team at the moment.
And 957 is such an unsung hero. His greatest assets, he very much reminds me of 2014 Koro. So Koro, before he had this big carry identity, obviously now replaced by Mouse on the EDG squad, was very much just kind of a Trundle, Maokai, disengage guy. And his whole job and reputation was built on area of control and zone control. 957 is the new Koro. This guy is so good at controlling fights in front of him, can play kind of carry-oriented champions like Lissandra, but still just uses them as his responsibility to create space and opportunities for Xie and Mystic, and almost no one does it better than him.
And he's now doing it for Condi as well, as this is a 3-threat comp, most definitely working out. As you can see, Condi, he's 2-2-7 himself.
The fact that Malzahar gets to be a threat as well as a massive zone control.
Yeah.
And has tank shred ability, like that's the one difference. Because Azir will be in a very similar vein, but doesn't have nearly as hard a CC as Malzahar does, and also doesn't have tank shredding ability to the extent that Malzahar does. And that's just what's kind of putting him just over the edge.
And putting most people over the edge when they're facing him as well, as you can see that army of Voidlings takes down the enemy blue buff. Baron now going to be respawning, and Xiaohu going to take a magical journey back into their own jungle. But RNG has to be very careful. No more aggressive Baron plays, please. There's WE looking to try and head forward and take this inhibitor one more time.
It's pretty much free. RNG do not have the positioning on this. MLXG actually using Void Rush to try to look for a flank possibly.
Well, Condi is going to get stunned. You can see the Voidlings actually taking this one down very quickly. Xiaohu down, does have the wave clear, but 957 just needs to get himself in front. Really nice Cosmic Binding comes in as there's the Unbreakable to try and deal with Uzi's arrow. WE have taken exactly what they wanted. Tempered Fate goes wide as Xie off to the backside does still have his passive.
They have nothing. They just use the Ice Arrow as well as the Tempered Fate. RNG have no more follow-up, which means Team WE get to walk out for free, and now look at this Baron.
Yeah, we'll see whether they're just going to go straight towards it and take that one down with the Bloodthirster as well for Condi. He can actually tank it.
They need to respect the bottom lane. Looper has actually set up quite a sizable wave. 957 doesn't have TP just yet, but it will be coming up soon. But Maokai does need to reposition himself towards the bottom side of the map. So Looper and the wave control actually save RNG, alleviate this Baron pressure, and buy them some time to kind of refocus, get themselves back in the game. They can start moving into this Baron pit, setting up vision, and possibly look for a pick with those two key ultimates.
And we're talking about this like WE are winning the game right now. WE, it's past 35 minutes, which is definitely a time where you feel like they have an advantage. But they're only ahead by 2,000 gold. This game is still extraordinarily close.
I think they very clearly have an advantage in a 5v5, not with just how their composition is set up, but frankly, they are just better at team fighting than RNG. RNG's 5v5 has never been their strong suit. It's always been their skirmishing potential and their pick potential. So RNG just need to go back to the drawing board, use their vision, use the Tempered Fate and the Ice Arrow correctly. Get key picks or don't follow up on that engage. They keep shoehorning themselves into just setting a line of scrimmage and trying to go at Team WE, and they keep getting punished for it. They definitely still have the tools to come back in this game, but they only get about 1 or 2 more shots.
Yeah, and Uzi actually isn't that far behind Mystic as well, who's 9-3-3, because he's 100 CS in the lead ahead of this Ezreal as Xiaohu. Pretty dangerous position, but the rest of his team flanking him out. Blue Plus still with the stand united as WE have started off this Baron. And MLXG looking to try and get himself a steal. Remember the amount of damage available to a Graves and this WE roster as a whole as they're setting up as a group of 5. And they back off the Baron. Patient play, which is what separates both of these teams at this point.
Malzahar was doing a lot of work in that Baron engagement as well, having those Voidlings up, making sure that Condi didn't have to tank that down. We saw in a previous series tonight the ability for Malzahar and the AD carry to solo out Baron if he has a Void army available.
Well, wards are going to be cleared towards the back of the pit here as Baron gets a little bit mad. Actually gets rid of Xie's passive, which is a big deal. As yeah, Lupa looking to try and get aggressive towards the bottom side of the map. Does have Stand United as Uzi's going to get it on top of him. Actually moves right in the middle of the fight as he flashes out of the way. 957 gets arrowed to the head, but does still have the Vengeful Maelstrom, and he's so tanky, soaking everything Uzi has to throw at him. But is it going to be enough? Doesn't fall down. Collateral damage almost kills Lupa as MLXG is going to get taken down with the ultimate from Xie, but that was the closest fight we've seen thus far as Xiaohu limps away.
And still so many individual micro errors there from RNG. The fact that Uzi has to put himself in harm's way because he's trying to get Shin into the fight, forced to burn his flash, it gives a free Baron to Team WE because all of RNG have to disengage back to base to heal up.
Yeah, of course, WE had a couple of members that were also low, but it was 957 and 0. The fact that Xie is there with his Voidlings just means that they can tank forever, and they've got all of their damage that's relevant for that Baron, and that went down extraordinarily fast. Now they're looking at the Elder Drake. Of course, the Elder Drake team looking to take down their mascot. They can. They're capable of this right now because there's still super creeps moving down the mid lane, and there is no response from RNG. This is a really weird-looking RNG team right now.
Again, trying to shoehorn themselves into just these really awkward 5v5s. Ashe is not your deployment for Shin, ever. Unless you're trying to save her from a backline dive, but trying to use Shin to engage on Ashe, huge flaw. Xiaohu actually played that fight really well too by zoning out Mystic for the majority of it, so that fight really was Condi and Xie just shining.
It was. Mystic actually didn't get anything done as far as he picked up 1 assist. But it really was Xie getting the work done. Does now have his Nethergrass back up, and you can see 957 almost at 6 items. Cannot overstate how incredibly big this tree is.
RNG have really been in a slump for their last 2 series, though.
Yeah.
Looking a bit out of sorts, not really as clean as we expected them. They kind of returned from Demacia Cup and just, you know, decision-making was a little bit sideways. Not as clean as we're used to seeing.
Red team's inhibitors respawn soon.
There just have been questions to ask after they faced against EDG. As Zero is going to get caught relatively out of position, just stands behind Xie, gets himself to safety. No, RNG are proactively making plays, but there's a... Oh my goodness, Condi gets destroyed as Zero is going to get arrowed to the head. Immediate 2 picks for RNG as MLXG is going to get singled out, but doesn't die for a very long time. 957 now in a bit of trouble. Mata, oh my god, the Malefic Vision's doing a bunch of work, but doesn't fall. And RNG's health bars aren't high enough.
And that was best case scenario. Again, that was the difference of what a team fight looks like for RNG when they hit their key CCs on key members. Unfortunately, one of those wasn't the Malzahar. And so in the end, Team WE do manage to secure the Baron inhibitor, and RNG are continuing to bleed.
You can see Xie and Mystic now want to push towards this inhibitor in the mid lane. Lupa now back up to full health. Wanting to shove things out towards the bottom side of the map. Of course, Guardian Angel still up for 957. As Mystic takes away the red buff. Arcane shifts away. He's almost got his 6 items. He will be done with 6 items when he next goes back to base. Of course, Mercurial Scimitar, the only one that he needs to grab. We'll see whether Uzi can get his Infinity Edge, because that is going to be a big damage boost for the Ashe. And RNG need a miracle, and Uzi's delivered them before.
And he definitely has the capabilities. They needed that arrow. They need it on Malzahar, or they need it on Ezreal, and that person needs to immediately explode.
Well, of course, Malzahar has his passive, and Ezreal's got a Mercurial Scimitar. They can't use it in any form of engage situation. It has to be reactionary.
It's fine, though, because they also have the Tempered Fate, so as long as they layer the CCs. It should be noted that this late in the game, I believe Malzahar's passive is every 6 seconds. So their windows where they can make picks on this champion are very narrow right now, so it has to come down to perfect execution, and frankly, RNG have not had that this game.
That has not been their MO at all. As wards are getting cleared, Uzi's just trying to throw in volleys, but the inhibitor falls. No response from RNG. So they know they need turret help if they're going to try and get anything. Baron is going to be up in another approximately 4 or so minutes. There's now inhibitor turret towards the top side is where they're going to look.
I think that this is the correct play from RNG, though, to just let that inhibitor go. Obviously, you can't afford to have all 3 go down, but they just need to buy enough time to try to make that single arrow or single pick play. They need that Hail Mary.
Yeah, they certainly do. Xiaohu does have all of his items done. Uzi as well. Infinity Edge, like we were talking about before, is complete. Lupa probably not going to get much stronger than this unless he decides to finish a Mercurial Scimitar. RNG setting themselves up for the last-ditch effort, but WE are so strong and so good at this stage of the game, navigating exactly what to do next.
Just so very patient, methodical. They'll continue to chip and splinter away at RNG, waiting for their waves, although RNG are doing a good job allocating their semi-global or global ultimates to deal with the waves in Rek'Sai and Shen.
Yep. As well as the fact that, you know, MLXG does have that Titanic Hydra, so he has a fair bit of wave clear, actually. Good option. So there's the Ghost Blade being popped. WE actually want to take this fight right now as the turret is going to be the priority. There's a Twisted Advance right on top as Mata does get soloed out. 957 actually stunned towards the backline as Xie is going to get nailed by the arrow. Takes a lot of damage. And RNG have all grouped up. The inhibitor still alive as Mystic off to the side, getting his damage in there. Xiaohu able to get in, but 957 once again getting it done. You can see taken down to the Guardian Angel. Zero, very, very close to death as Mystic gets queued by Xiaohu.
Xiaohu's all of his ultimates down, like Chaos Storm is down. This fight is all about Uzi right now, all about the sustained damage if we continue here.
Well, you can see MLXG now still dealing with super creeps heading forwards, and WE say, well, we took the inhibitor turret, we may as well go back, get our health back up, wait for this next Baron that's up in a minute.
Much better fight from RNG. Again, kind of a scenario where it's almost too little too late, but they're using the Tempered Fate and the Chaos Storm as zoning tools. That time around, Xie actually threw the Chaos Storm towards the back line and just zoned out Xie and Mystic from maximizing their damage output. But again, if the Chaos Storm is going to be used as a zoning tool, all eyes have to look on Uzi because he's the last standing damage threat.
The last bastion of hope, and you saw 957, he did get his GA taken down, which is going to be important for RNG moving into the next fight. But he was so big for so long, and Uzi could never fight with him in range. The follow-up CC is just too much to deal with, and he can't be using his Mercurial Scimitar on the Twisted Advance.
Baron going to be spawning in 23 seconds, though. RNG will have a window where they can look to contest this because their inhibs will be coming up soon, but they need to stall it initially.
Well, you can see Condi and Xie just want to deal with this mini wave, shove it forward, make it as difficult as possible for RNG to get towards that Baron pit. Because RNG are actually setting themselves up for some kind of flanking maneuver. If they catch someone with an arrow, that could be a very big deal, as in goes the Hawk Shot, spots out WE, and the fact that they haven't started the Baron.
Again, they just need to stall it. They've got one inhib back up. Now looking for their mid inhib. They have a small window to act here.
Well, MLXG tunnels his way out,
Oh
but
my
look
God.
at this Baron fall. It is so incredibly dead. Tempered Fate a little bit too late there as the fight is now on. 957 takes a fair bit of damage, and Mata is just going to be obliterated at the beginning of this fight. Mercurial Scimitar goes down. Uzi just cannot offer his sustained damage to this fight at all because Zero is just zoning him away. MLXG, Guardian Angel or no Guardian Angel, you are dead, my friend. And it's only Xiaohu, Uzi, and Lupa to try and hold on to this game as Teleport's actually coming in. 957 wants to get rid of this inhibitor.
This is the nail in the coffin. This is Team WE taking down game
flank.
1 from RNG. There's nothing that they can do right now. Their base is about to get flooded, their inhibs are about to fall, and Team WE are about to make their mark.
Look at these super creeps smash towards RNG. Loop is going to have to do something ridiculous. Xiaohu as well off to the side of Zero. Takes a fair bit of damage. You can see Condi right in amongst it as Uzi dodges out of the way of the ultimate. Lupa surviving for the moment, and Xiaohu still has a fair bit that he can do, but there's no Chaos Storm. And WE are just going to focus on the Nexus turrets and the Nexus. Lupa goes down to his GA, and that is going to be the wipe. WE making their mark in their first game back into group play.
And that is a performance that we expect from a second-place team in Group B. Enough of the slaughter from Series 1. Series 2 is looking to be quite a different story, and RNG still continuing kind of their slump of questionable decisions, and Team WE actually stepping up a bit in the early game, minimizing their losses, still not being proactive, but reacting much better instead of just trading objectives, willing to go toe-to-toe with RNG over these skirmishes.
Yeah, damn right. And they were just playing so much more patiently than RNG. RNG is a team that does like to bully their opponents, but RNG said, yeah, just do it as much as you like. We'll just give Mystic millions of kills.
But the big swing of power was in Team WE's ability to 5v5, which will be surely showcased in all of these highlights. It's just a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah.
Condi plays this so well.
Actually gets caught out by the Shadow Dash, but it didn't matter. There's just too much damage potential, and when Xie is over a wall, still able to do all of his buttons, it's just too much.
And of course, Mystic's Quadra Kill. And again, look at Xie. He actually completely misplays that. Doesn't position himself correctly, forced to flash out. But it doesn't matter because Mystic is so on point with his Ezreal performance. Spawn says it all the time. There are, you know, the fact that Ezreal is still a big priority pick in the LPL says something to all of the phenomenal Ezreal players that we have within this region. And Mystic is certainly up there. He's going toe-to-toe with Uzi.
He most certainly is. And this is a league that has depth in it as well. And when you're talking about Mystics, Ezreal players being incredibly notable, understand who he's standing next to at the same time as time after time, RNG were just ramming their faces into WE and coming up short.
I mean, if Team WE can be consistent and close this one out, again, if we look back to last series, this was a very similar story where Team WE came out swinging in Game 1 before RNG just gave them the backhand. But they're looking to upgrade from kind of a B-rate or an A team with B-rate players to A-tier players looking for S-tier team play.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be one of the last remaining team fights. As you can see, the flash in from Xie really getting the work done. The Malzahar pick is most likely not going to be coming for WE, though. And I guess the real answer is what's going to happen in the next drafting phase.
Well, no doubt Team W will be having to play from the red side, so they'll either ban that. I don't suspect that they're going to give it away for free, although we've seen some teams do some questionable things with the Malzahar pick, but I think you need to take it off the board, redraw the compositions, and see where we go from there.
Yeah, exactly right. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to throw it to a short break. When we get back, we'll see whether RNG can answer or whether WE can really turn the tide against RNG. Don't go anywhere.